Captain Nyx Orion stood at the helm of the Zephyrus, her crystalline fingers dancing across the holographic controls as her vessel drifted through the remnants of an ancient asteroid field. The Lysarian explorer had spent decades mapping the unexplored regions of the galaxy, but something about this sector felt different. The void held secrets here, whispers of a past that the Galactic Concordat had tried to forget. "Captain, we're detecting unusual energy signatures," reported Lieutenant Venn, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with excitement. "They're unlike anything in our database." Nyx's antenna twitched, sensing the subtle changes in the quantum field around them. The Lysarians were known for their sensitivity to electromagnetic fluctuations, a gift that had made them excellent deep space explorers. But these readings were beyond anything she had encountered in her 2 centuries of service. "Full sensor sweep, Lieutenant. I want to know what we're dealing with." Her voice carried the weight of authority, tempered by curiosity that had driven her species to the stars. The massive scanning arrays of the Zephyrus came to life, penetrating the darkness between the stars. What they revealed sent shockwaves through the bridge crew. There, suspended in the eternal night, was a ship of impossible proportions. Its hull was darker than the void itself, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Angular and predatory, it bore none of the organic curves common to Concordat vessels. "Classification," Nyx demanded, her crystalline form reflecting the stark emergency lights that had automatically activated. Chief Analyst Coro, a Vexian with multiple cybernetic enhancements, processed the data streaming through his neural interface. "Design matches no known configuration, Captain, but there's something else. We're detecting markings on the hull, there in human standard." The bridge fell silent. Humans were considered a minor species, relegated to a handful of colonies after their homeworld was quarantined centuries ago. Their technology was primitive by Concordat standards, their military presence negligible, or so everyone believed. "Impossible," Nyx whispered, but the evidence before her told a different story. The vessel was easily twice the size of the largest Concordat dreadnought, bristling with weapon systems that made their own defenses look primitive by comparison. As they watched, ancient systems aboard the mysterious ship began to activate. Lights flickered along its hull, and massive engines hummed to life with a power signature that defied conventional physics. "Captain, we're being scanned," Venn reported, his bioluminescence now pulsing with alarm. "Their systems they're cutting through our shields like they don't exist." Before Nyx could respond, every screen on the bridge transformed, displaying a single message in perfect galactic standard. "Terran Imperial Vessel Prometheus, stand down and prepare for inspection. Resistance will be met with immediate response." The words carried more than just a warning. They carried the weight of centuries of careful planning and hidden power. Nyx realized with growing dread that they hadn't just discovered a lost ship. They had stumbled upon evidence that humanity had been keeping secrets, big ones, from the entire galaxy. "Open a channel," she ordered, her crystalline form vibrating with tension. "This is Captain Nyx Orion of the Concordat exploration vessel Zephyrus. We are on a peaceful mission of discovery. Please identify your authority and intention." The response came not in words but in action. A section of the massive vessel's hull transformed, revealing a hangar bay large enough to house their entire ship. The message was clear: they weren't being given a choice. As the Zephyrus was drawn inexorably toward the Prometheus, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled upon something that would reshape the galaxy. The humans hadn't been surviving on the fringes of civilization. They had been waiting, watching, and building in secret. "All hands prepare for contact protocol," she announced, her voice steady despite the circumstances. "Whatever happens next, remember that we are witnessing history. The galaxy as we know it is about to change." The Prometheus swallowed their ship whole, and as the hangar bay doors sealed behind them, Nyx realized that they weren't just messengers anymore. They were now part of a story that would echo across the stars, the day humanity revealed its true face to the galaxy. Through the viewport, she could see figures approaching in sleek armor that made Concordat battle suits look primitive. They moved with practiced precision, their weapons held with the confidence of a species that had been preparing for this moment for generations. The game of galactic politics was about to change, and Nyx Orion, a simple explorer, would be the one to carry this earth-shattering news back to the Concordat, assuming the humans let them leave at all. The interior of the Prometheus was a testament to engineering that shouldn't have been possible. Captain Nyx Orion and her senior officers were escorted through corridors that thrummed with barely contained power, their crystalline forms reflecting the blue-white luminescence that seemed to pulse from the very walls themselves. Their escort, a tall human who had introduced himself as Fleet Commander Marcus Drake, moved with the fluid grace of someone born in space. His dark skin contrasted sharply with the platinum white of his uniform, which bore insignias that spoke of rank and authority in a military structure the Concordat had never known existed. "You're wondering how we kept this hidden for so long," Drake said, his voice carrying no hint of question. It was a statement of fact, one that had likely been rehearsed for this very moment. 3 centuries of surveillance, and we never detected anything beyond basic colony ships, Chief Analyst Coro responded, his cybernetic eyes whirring as they attempted to analyze everything around them. The Concordat's intelligence network was watching exactly what we wanted them to see, Drake interrupted, stopping before a massive door that bore the symbol of a phoenix rising from a stylized Earth. "The truth, Captain Orion, is that humanity never stopped advancing. We simply learned to do it in the shadows." The door opened to reveal a command center that put the most advanced Concordat facilities to shame. 3-dimensional star maps filled the air, showing tactical positions and fleet movements that spanned the entire galaxy. But what caught Nyx's attention were the timestamps. Some of these operations had been in motion for decades. "When the Concordat quarantined Earth, claiming it was to protect us from ourselves," Drake continued, "they didn't realize they were giving us exactly what we needed: isolation and motivation." A gesture brought up historical footage that made Nyx's crystalline heart pulse with shock. Hidden shipyards in the hearts of gas giants, training facilities buried in the cores of dead moons, an entire civilization developing in parallel to the one the galaxy thought they knew. "But the colonies," Lieutenant Venn protested, his bioluminescence flickering with confusion. "They're primitive, struggling." "They're a shield," came a new voice. A woman stepped from the shadows, her cybernetic enhancements far more advanced than anything Coro possessed. "I am Admiral Juniper Vale, and those struggling colonies are our first line of deception." The Admiral's presence commanded attention, her augmented eyes holding centuries of carefully guarded secrets. While the Concordat watched our apparent struggles, pitying what they saw as a species barely clinging to survival, we built, we adapted, we evolved. Screens around them came to life, showing vast networks of hidden bases and fleet positions. The scale of the deception was staggering. Humanity hadn't just been hiding, they had been systematically positioning themselves throughout known space. "The Prometheus isn't just a warship," Vale explained, her tone carrying both pride and warning. "It's a statement, a declaration that the era of humanity playing the part of a primitive species is over." Nyx found her voice, though it trembled slightly. "Why reveal this now? Why to us?" Drake and Vale exchanged looks that spoke of carefully laid plans finally coming to fruition. "Because, Captain Orion, the galaxy is about to face a threat that the Concordat isn't prepared for. We've detected something coming from beyond the galactic rim, something that makes our oldest wars look like children's games." The Admiral brought up another display, this one showing readings that made even Nyx's advanced sensory capabilities recoil. "We've spent centuries preparing not just for revenge, but for survival. Humanity remembers what it means to fight for existence itself." "The Concordat will never accept this," Coro stated, his cybernetic enhancements processing the tactical implications. "They'll see it as a prelude to war." "The Concordat," Commander Drake said with a grim smile, "doesn't have a choice. We're not asking for acceptance. We're announcing our presence because soon, very soon, they're going to need us." Admiral Vale moved to stand before the massive viewport, her reflection overlaying the stars beyond. Your ship will be released with proof of everything we've shown you. The Concordat needs to understand that the galaxy's balance of power didn't just shift. It was never what they thought it was. Nyx felt the weight of history pressing down on her crystalline form. They weren't just witnesses anymore. They were heralds of a new age. The humans hadn't just survived in secret. They had thrived, building an empire in the shadows while playing the role of defeated primitives. "There's one more thing you should know," Vale added, turning back to face them. "The Prometheus isn't alone. This ship is just one of thousands. When the threat from beyond the rim arrives, humanity will stand ready. The question is, will the Concordat stand with us or cling to their illusion of superiority until it's too late?" As if to emphasize her words, the massive viewports cleared, revealing a sight that would haunt Nyx's dreams forever. Hidden behind advanced cloaking fields, a fleet of ships larger than the Prometheus hung in the void, each bearing the phoenix emblem of a humanity that had risen from its own ashes to become something far more formidable than anyone had imagined. The game hadn't just changed. It had been revealed as an entirely different game altogether, one that humanity had been playing all along while the rest of the galaxy congratulated itself on keeping them contained. The Concordat High Council chamber had never been so silent. The massive amphitheater, usually filled with the diplomatic murmurs of 100 species, held its collective breath as the holographic evidence played out before them. Captain Nyx Orion stood at the center, her crystalline form reflecting the images of human warships and hidden bases that danced through the air. High Chancellor Zareth, their insected form towering over the other council members, raised all four hands in a gesture of disbelief. "This testimony, these images, they defy everything we have known for 3 centuries." Before anyone could respond, the chamber's security systems flared to life. Warning signals blared as massive ships appeared in orbit around the Concordat capital world, ships that hadn't been there seconds before. The defensive grid, the most advanced in known space, hadn't even detected their approach. "Members of the Concordat High Council," a familiar voice echoed through the chamber. Admiral Vale's hologram materialized beside Captain Orion, her presence as commanding in projection as it had been in person. "We apologize for this dramatic entrance, but we believed a demonstration was in order." Screens throughout the chamber showed real-time footage of human warships decloaking around every major Concordat world. Not as a threat, but as a revelation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, bearing technologies that most species had thought impossible. "By now, your analysts have confirmed that our ships could have struck at any time," Vale continued, her augmented eyes scanning the chamber. "We didn't. Instead, we protected. The pirates that mysteriously vanished near your colonies, the natural disasters that unexpectedly changed course. That was us standing guard over a galaxy that thought us primitive." Chancellor Zareth's mandibles clicked in agitation. "You expect us to believe humanity has been our secret protector, after you quarantined Earth?" A new hologram appeared, Fleet Commander Drake, his expression stern. "That decision had consequences you never imagined. It taught us patience. It taught us subterfuge. Most importantly, it taught us to look beyond our own borders." The chamber's displays shifted, showing something that made even the most composed council members recoil. Data streams from deep space probes, revealing massive objects approaching from beyond the galactic rim. "We call them the Void Hunters," Drake explained, his voice grave. "They consume everything in their path, matter, energy, even space-time itself. We detected them 50 years ago. That's when we knew we couldn't hide anymore." The council erupted in chaos. Questions and accusations flew across the chamber like missiles. Through it all, Captain Orion watched the human holograms, noting how they seemed almost relieved to finally shed their mask of weakness. "The quarantine forced us to develop technologies you never dreamed of," Vale continued once the initial shock subsided. "While you watched our decoy colonies struggle with basic terraforming, we were building ships that could hide in plain sight. While you pitied our primitive attempts at space travel, we were creating engines that could bend reality itself." A new figure materialized, a human woman with silver hair and eyes that seemed to hold starlight. I am Director Thea Winter of the Terran Science Division. Everything you're seeing is just the surface. Our true advances. They would change your understanding of what's possible. She gestured, and the air itself seemed to ripple. A small device appeared in the center of the chamber, floating serenely. This contains the plans for a defensive system that could protect the entire galactic core. We're offering it freely along with our help, because what's coming doesn't care about politics or past grievances. It only knows hunger. Chancellor Zareth stepped forward, their massive form casting shadows in the holographic light. You speak of protection, of cooperation, yet you reveal your deception with armies at our doors. How can we trust a species that has lied for centuries? Admiral Vale smiled, but it held no humor. Trust isn't required, Chancellor. Understanding is. Humanity doesn't want to rule the Concordat. We want to ensure there's a galaxy left to argue over when the Void Hunters arrive. The chamber fell silent again as new data streamed across the displays, detailed scans of the approaching threat. The Void Hunters were unlike anything in known space, their very existence an affront to natural law. We have 6 months, Director Winter stated flatly. 6 months before they reach the outer rim. You can spend that time debating our methods, or you can help us save every species in this galaxy. Choose quickly. As if to punctuate her words, every human ship in orbit simultaneously activated their main drives. The energy readings made the most advanced Concordat sensors seem like children's toys. We'll remain in position until you decide, Admiral Vale concluded. But remember, we didn't build this fleet for conquest. We built it because we saw what was coming, and we refused to let history repeat itself. Earth may have been quarantined, but humanity never stopped reaching for the stars. We just learned to do it more quietly. The holograms faded, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Captain Orion looked up at the screens showing the human fleet in orbit. Their massive forms a testament to centuries of hidden progress. The galaxy's balance of power hadn't just shifted, it had been revealed as an illusion all along. The next 3 days transformed the galaxy more than the previous 3 centuries. As news of humanity's true power spread across Concordat space, chaos and fear gave way to something unexpected: hope. Captain Nix Orion watched from the observation deck of Concordat Station Prime as human ships openly patrolled alongside Concordat vessels for the first time in history. Quite a sight, isn't it? The voice belonged to Director Winter, who had somehow materialized beside her without triggering any of the station's security protocols. The human scientist's silver hair seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. How do you do that? Nix asked, her crystalline form vibrating with curiosity. Even my species' sensory abilities can't detect your movements. Winter smiled, pulling a small device from her pocket. It looked deceptively simple, a metallic sphere no larger than a finger joint. Phase shift technology. We learned to step slightly outside normal space-time, just one of many discoveries we made while playing the role of primitive survivors. Below them, a massive human vessel was docking with the station. Unlike the warships, this one was clearly designed for scientific purposes, its hull covered in arrays and sensors that defied conventional understanding. Teams of human and Concordat scientists rushed to meet it, eager to begin sharing knowledge that could help defend against the approaching Void Hunters. The Concordat's best minds are still struggling to accept what we've achieved, Winter continued, her augmented eyes tracking the movement of ships through space. They keep asking how we managed to advance so far without detection. And, Nix prompted, knowing there was more to the story. We had help, Winter admitted, turning to face the Lysarian captain. Not all species agreed with the quarantine. Some saw the potential in humanity, the drive that made us dangerous but also invaluable. They helped us in secret, believing that someday we'd be needed. The observation deck's doors slid open, admitting Fleet Commander Drake and a towering figure Nix had never seen before, a Nexari, one of the oldest species in known space. Their crystalline structure was similar to Nix's own, but far more complex, pulsing with ancient power. Ambassador Zix, Winter greeted the Nexari with obvious respect. Thank you for finally agreeing to reveal your people's role in all this. The Nexari's voice resonated through the chamber like music. The time for secrets is over. The Void Hunters care nothing for our political games or ancient grudges. They consume all equally. Drake stepped forward, his uniform now bearing new insignias that represented the joint Human Concordat Defense Force. The first wave of their scouts will reach the Outer Rim in less than 6 months. Every hour we spend dealing with political fallout is an hour we're not spending preparing. Screens materialized around them, showing real-time data from human deep space probes. The Void Hunters were unlike anything Nyx had ever seen, massive entities that seemed to bend reality around them, leaving nothing but empty void in their wake. "We've already lost 3 probes studying them," Winter explained, her expression grim. "They don't just destroy matter, they erase it from existence. Conventional weapons are useless." "Which is why we need to combine our knowledge," Ambassador Zix added. "The Nexari understood humanity's potential centuries ago. We saw in them what the Concordat feared, the ability to achieve the impossible when pushed to the edge of extinction." A new alert flashed across the screens. Admiral Vale's face appeared, her cybernetic enhancements glowing with urgency. "We've lost contact with the outer colony of New Haven. Long-range scans show nothing. The entire system is just gone." The implications hit Nyx like a physical blow. The Void Hunters weren't just coming, they were already here. "It's beginning," Drake said quietly. "They're sending advance forces to test our defenses, to learn how we fight." Director Winter's hands danced through the holographic displays, coordinating responses across multiple sectors. "The Prometheus and its battle group are closest. They can reach the New Haven sector in 6 hours using our phase drive technology." "Not fast enough," Ambassador Zix stated, their crystalline form pulsing with ancient power. "But perhaps, yes, the Nexari have kept other secrets, technologies we developed alongside humanity but never revealed. Together we might have a chance." The station shuddered as massive engines came to life. Through the viewport, Nyx watched in awe as hidden panels in the supposedly primitive human vessels slid open, revealing weapons and defense systems that put even their previous revelations to shame. "Captain Orion," Drake turned to her, his expression deadly serious. "Your people's sensitivity to quantum fluctuations might be key to detecting the Void Hunters before they strike. We need you and your crew to join the Prometheus battle group." Nyx straightened, her crystalline form catching the light of distant stars. "The Concordat restricted my people's military involvement for centuries, but now we all stand together," Winter finished, "or we all fall alone." As if to emphasize her words, a new signal reached them, more colonies going dark along the outer rim. The Void Hunters were no longer testing. They were beginning their invasion in earnest. The game of secrets and shadows was over. Now began a fight for survival that would either unite the galaxy or consign it to oblivion. And humanity, the species that had hidden its true face for so long, would lead the charge into darkness. The Prometheus hung in the void at the edge of what was once the New Haven system, its massive form now joined by vessels from across the galaxy. Captain Nyx Orion stood on its bridge alongside Fleet Commander Drake, her crystalline form resonating with the quantum distortions that signaled the Void Hunter's presence. "Multiple signatures approaching," she announced, her sensory abilities enhanced by human technology. "They're different from anything we've detected before, larger, more organized." Admiral Vale's hologram materialized at the tactical station, her cybernetic systems interfacing directly with the fleet's command network. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Remember your training. These aren't pirates or raiders, they're entropy-given form." Through the massive viewport, space itself seemed to tear. The Void Hunters emerged, massive, dark shapes that defied natural law. Where stars should have been visible through their semi-transparent forms, there was only emptiness, an emptiness that hungered. "By the first light," Ambassador Zix whispered, their crystalline form pulsing with ancient fear. "They're bigger than our worst projections." Director Winter's voice cut through the growing tension. "Size doesn't matter if our theories are correct. Captain Orion, are you ready?" Nyx moved to the specially designed sensor platform the humans had built based on her species' unique abilities. Ready, beginning quantum resonance scan. The combined fleet represented every major power in known space. Concordat dreadnoughts flew alongside hidden human warships. Nexari crystalline vessels pulsed with energy that could reshape reality. Even the mysterious Veil Collective, which hadn't been seen in millennia, had sent ships to join the battle. "First wave approaching," Drake announced, his hands steady on the tactical controls. "Remember, conventional weapons are useless. Everything depends on the synchronized strike." The Void Hunters moved with impossible speed, their forms distorting space around them. Where they passed, matter simply ceased to exist, erased from reality itself. The outer edges of the fleet's formation began to dissolve. Now, Veil's command rang through the neural network connecting all ships. "Execute Protocol Phoenix." Nyx's consciousness expanded through the sensor network as every ship in the fleet activated devices based on her species' quantum sensitivity. The space between stars lit up with patterns only she could fully perceive, weak points in the Void Hunter's otherwise impenetrable forms. "Targeting data transmitted," she reported, her crystalline body humming with the effort. "You'll have a 10-second window when their phase patterns align." Winter's voice was tight with concentration. "That's all we need, all ships power to the resonance cannons." The human vessels revealed their final secret. Massive weapons unlike anything the galaxy had seen before unfolded from hidden bays. They didn't fire energy or matter, but something far more fundamental: concentrated reality itself, enhanced by Nexari crystal technology and guided by Lysarian quantum sensing. The Void Hunters sensed the threat too late. The first barrage struck their leading edge, and for the first time in known history, the Devourers of Worlds screamed. Where the resonance beams hit, their impossible forms began to crystallize, forced back into normal space-time. "It's working," Drake's usual composure cracked with excitement. "All ships concentrate fire on the confirmed targets." The battle that followed would be spoken of for generations. Human ingenuity, Lysarian sensing, Nexari crystal tech, and Concordat battle doctrine combined into something greater than any one species could have achieved. Ships moved in perfect formation, their attacks synchronized by Veil's neural network. But the Void Hunters weren't defeated easily. They adapted, their forms shifting to new configurations that required Nyx to constantly recalculate targeting data. Vessels were lost, crews sacrificed themselves to buy seconds of advantage, and space itself seemed to warp and twist with the scale of energies being unleashed. "They're pulling back," Nyx announced after what felt like eternities of combat. "The quantum signatures are weakening. They're retreating." The bridge erupted in cheers, but Winter's voice cut through the celebration. "Not retreating, regrouping. This was just their advance force, but we've proven something vital: they can be hurt. They can be fought." Admiral Veil's hologram nodded grimly. "And we've shown them something else, that this galaxy isn't divided anymore, that humanity's long game of hidden preparation wasn't just about survival, it was about bringing us all together against a common threat." The fleet regrouped, damage reports flowing in alongside casualty lists that included names from every species. But amid the losses, there was something new: hope. The Void Hunters weren't invincible. The galaxy, united at last, had a fighting chance. "We should thank the Concordat in a way," Drake mused, watching repair drones swarm around the battle-damaged ships. "If they hadn't quarantined Earth, hadn't forced us to advance in secret, we might never have developed the technologies we needed for this fight." Nyx turned her crystalline face to the stars, where the remnants of the Void Hunters' retreat were still visible as distortions in space-time. "What happens now?" "Now," Veil's hologram smiled fiercely, "now we take the fight to them. The entire galaxy working together, all our secrets laid bare, all our strengths combined. They thought they were hunting us. They're about to learn what happens when the hunted become the hunters."